Hello, everybody. Welcome to this Iliad workshop. We would like to thank you for joining us today. We're going to talk about the Iliad digital twins of the ocean as a tool for policymakers. This is the first workshop of a series of workshops and webinars we're planning to organize, and we hope that you will attend, that are focused on how the digital twins of the ocean can be used as an effective tool for policymakers. In today's webinar, we are going to focus on the case of fisheries. So I will not delay longer. I will share my screen in order to introduce you to the agenda and to our speakers today. So I hope you can see my screen. First of all, I'm Katerina Spandaki. I'm working at the Foundation for Research and Technology in Greece. My academic background is in ocean forecasting and ocean modeling, and I'm also co-chairing the Mongoose Applications Working Group, and I'm involved in ocean governance and policy implementation with regards to marine spatial planning. I will now introduce you to our agenda. Okay, so we'll start with an introduction to the Iliad project and the Iliad Policy facility. So I will invite to the floor our first speaker is Garabet Kazanjian from the American University of Armenia, and we'll speak about the Iliad policy objectives and policy implications of the Iliad's thematic digital twins. Garabet is an assistant professor at the American University of Armenia. He holds an MSc in Fisheries Ecology and PhD in Limnology. He is involved in the Iliad Policy facility. He is leading this work package, and he's also coordinating the Horizon Europe Otters project, which aims at scaling up citizen science in the water domain. So, Garabet, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Katerina. I'll quickly share my screen as well. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and for your interest in today's workshop. I'm going to give a very quick overview about what Iliad is and then talk about the policy implications of the project. I hope you can all see my screen. So in a very quick and short overview, Iliad stands for Integrated Digital Framework for Comprehensive Maritime Data and Information Services. The total amount of funding that the project received is north of 18 million euros. The vast majority of that came as a European Commission Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation grant. The project spans over 3 years. We started early 2022 and it will last until January 2025. So we're kind of midway through the project. It's a big consortium composed of numerous partners that span within industry as end users, research and tech development, corporations and universities, and other stakeholders. Moving forward, what is a digital twin of the ocean? When we talk about ocean data, we talk about geophysical, chemical, biological, and numerous different types of data and components. What digital twin of the ocean tries to do is create a virtual environment representing an ocean and also capable of running complex and predictive models and management scenarios. The digital twin could be specific to one sector or domain, but it could also be cross-discipline, getting data from multiple different sensors, ranging numerous topics and putting them all together. Iliad as a partnership is very dynamic. We work with a number of different projects and initiatives, both public and private. We try to use similar standards and APIs and best practices in order to create an interoperable system or system of systems and assets to work together, whether that's within the European landscape, but also on an international level as well. So in a nutshell, or probably better saying seashell, given our context, we are creating interoperable digital twins of the ocean through connecting to existing data infrastructures, whether that's Copernicus, EmoteNet, etc., but also enriching the available data set by adding different observational technologies, low-cost sensors, etc., and trying to integrate citizen science into our data structure. Altogether, we also want to create an open marketplace, the Iliad marketplace, to provide a space where a lot of these solutions, data and algorithms, predictive capabilities could be hosted. And the marketplace would also be a place where different models could be evaluated and compared together. Altogether, we, on top of all this, want to also create a community based on and around the marketplace, where like-minded people and different organizations can come together and discuss a host of different solutions for blue development, ocean sustainability, and economic growth. Around the marketplace, we also have the Iliad Academy, which is the educational platform of the project. And we also have the Blue Technology Business and Innovation Facility, where a lot of startups or budding ideas related to blue growth could come and receive some sort of guidance in order to develop technologies following certain standards and APIs to be hosted eventually on the Iliad marketplace. But what does this all mean regarding policy objectives of Iliad? What we want to do is also have a very strong policy component. On one hand, develop a set of policy engagement tools that could be used within Iliad's policy networks, the Iliad Academy, and also other circles of projects that we engage with, in order to start talking about how we can use digital twins of the oceans for policy compliance, policy setting, etc. And today is one of the examples of such. The second one is engaging key stakeholders to assess the current state of blue growth and ocean sustainability, and to help to work together to help make progress on the goals of, for instance, Destination Earth, Mission Starfish, the European Green Deal, UN Decade of the Ocean, different UN Sustainable Development Goals, etc. And last but not least, we also want to figure out or start discussing how we can facilitate policy harmonization, not only within EU member states, but also as a regional platform overall. And as we can see already today, two of our speakers come from regional bodies which involve member states outside of EU. So how do we plan to do this? We want to have a number of workshops and webinars where we invite policymakers and policy stakeholders to get feedback from them regarding their challenges, their main issues, bottlenecks, etc., regarding policy compliance within different sectors related to the oceans, and what are their needs? How can technology help them and meet some of their very ambitious targets by 2030 and so on? And we want to co-design, figure out and identify what their policy needs and challenges are in ocean governance. Then we want to have similar workshops and sessions with pilots, with the industry, with different projects that are happening in this field, and altogether discuss solutions that could cater to these policy needs and challenges. Altogether, we want to also work with our Iliad partners and pilots that we have numerous of, and we're going to have 3 presentations today of Iliad partners in this workshop, to see how we can meet or help the policymakers meet those challenges. And ultimately, we want to develop easy-to-follow guides to policymakers, specifically, how can they make use of these technologies to help them reach their ambitious policy targets. So we will be developing a number of policy briefs, policy broadcasts, and also easy-to-use tools and training sessions for policy, catered for policymakers to take advantage of these new solutions. Before I give the room to our speakers, I will just raise a couple of ideas, food for thought, that I think will be useful or for people already to think about, and we will have a session of discussion at the end towards how we think digital twins can help us move forward for data-driven decision-making. And this could include data access, using models, forecasts, what-if scenarios. How can these tools be used as decision-making tools? Second point is, how can digital twins of the ocean make progress towards an ecosystem management approach? And this includes multi-layered, multi-sectoral decision-making. So for instance, if one new policy or decision is taken within fisheries or marine protected areas, what could be the implications of this over other sectors, other domains? And of course, the most straightforward being, how can future forecasts and changes like climate change impact multiple different sectors? Third point that I wanted to also raise is, how can improved data sharing and data accessibility by many stakeholders, and this could be within Europe, but also outside of it, including incorporation of citizen science data, improve policy compliance, harmonization, but also buy-in from end users. If end users themselves have access to a lot of this data and decision-making tools, or understand how the decision-making is being done, then will they be more engaged in, or will this increase in the buy-in and democratization of decision-making, so to speak? How will they be engaged in the decision-making process? And then last but not least, what could be some legal bottlenecks and challenges that we foresee whenever we're talking about regional and international collaboration? We already have a number of regional partners, as I mentioned before, with us today, so maybe we can hear from them some of the challenges in coordination between different member states, between different countries, when we talk about ocean sustainability and policies. And then, what safeguards do we need for ensuring data accuracy, making sure we know with regards to, for instance, forecasts, what are our certainties or uncertainties included in our models, etc. So that said, I don't want to take more of the time from interesting discussions. Thank you very much. I would like to give the floor back to Katerina, and maybe we can start with our presenters today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Garabet. To everyone, just a reminder, please type your questions in the chat, and we will address everything during the roundtable discussion. I would like now to move on to the next section of our workshop, where we will invite GFCM and UNEP MAPS-PARAC to talk about regional fishery policies, latest development and future targets by 2030. First, starting with GFCM, the presentation will be about fisheries and aquaculture policies in the Mediterranean and Black Sea, challenges and gaps that digital twins as a policy tool can address. Apologies for delay.
Great. So
I would like to invite now to the floor Mr. Edgar Mushegan. He works at GFCM with over 5 years of experience at FAO. He's a GFCM fishery information specialist. His expertise also contributes to organizing the Fish Forum 2024. And he will share the presentation with Mr. Nicola Nessi. He's a legal and policy expert working for the compliance team of GFCM. Not taking longer of your time, so please share your screen.
Great. So can you share the screen now?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Great. So thank you so much for this introduction. As you know, my name is Nicola Nessi. and I work for the Secretary of the GFCM. So today's presentation will I would first of all like to thank Iliad for this opportunity to deliver this presentation on the GFCM LEX as a tool for addressing existing challenging facing the conservation of living marine resources in the Mediterranean and Black Sea region. Right, so by way of introduction, we are one of those regional bodies that the Garabet was talking about, which include non-EU members. The GFCM is a regional fisheries management organization created by the FAO in 1949. Our purpose is to provide the countries of the Mediterranean and Black Sea with a forum where they can federate their efforts towards the conservation and sustainable use of living marine resources at all levels, and promote the sustainable development of aquaculture in the region. We currently have 23 contracting parties, which you can see here, and 6 cooperating non-contracting parties. Now, to provide a roadmap for our organization, the GFCM 2030 strategy was established in 2021. The 2030 strategy aims to preserve the heritage of fisheries and aquaculture as pillars of the Mediterranean and Black Sea coastal communities, ensuring their transformation into a productive and sustainable system that contributes to thriving economies and healthy ecosystems. Therefore, falls under that definition of ambitious policy goals that Garabet hinted at before. Luckily, the good people that elaborated the strategy had the kindness of breaking it up into 5 targets, making it much easier to explain to interested parties, such as hopefully yourselves. Now, for our purposes today, the most important of these targets are target 2 on compliance and enforcement. But as you'll see in the next slide, target 5 on capacity development is also of considerable relevance here. You can also see that each target is broken down into outputs, and these are the outputs that are most relevant to us today. Now, to the juicy bits, which is the project that we're presenting today, the GFCM LEX. What is it? In a sentence, it's a multilingual online platform built on the Wiki engine containing all national legislation implementing GFCM decisions presented in clearly drafted national profiles. In a shorter sentence, it's a Wikipedia for fisheries and aquaculture legislation in the Mediterranean and Black Sea region. Our goal with this platform is to make this legislation accessible to a broad range of stakeholders and to promote a coherent approach to the conservation and management of marine resources in our region. Now, in law, there's an old maxim that says that ignorance of the law is never an excuse for breaking it. But we understand that ignorance may nevertheless be a reason, although not a very good one, for which individuals and states alike unwittingly commit violations. Now, you can therefore understand that the GFCM LEX project is aligned with Target 2 of our strategy and its ambitions to enhance the implementation of GFCM recommendations at the national levels and more. At the same time, the fact that the project is based on the Wiki engine provides many opportunities to build and consolidate partnerships with relevant organizations and stakeholders, as laid out in Target 5 of the GFCM 20 strategy, and as we hope to do today. Now, here are some of the highlights of the GFCM LEX. First, we have policy harmonization. By providing a harmonized legal framework, the GFCM LEX can facilitate the alignment of policies across the region, creating a conducive environment for the effective use of digital twins in policy analysis and decision-making. We also have the issue of data integration, where GFCM LEX can serve as a repository of legal and policy data that can be integrated with scientific and monitoring, control, and surveillance data within the digital twins platform. Now, this integration enhances the accuracy and relevance of digital forecasting of fisheries stock, ensuring that policy decisions are well informed and based on the most recent and accurate data and laws. Finally, we have our multi-stakeholder approach. Now, as we said before, because it's based on the Wiki engine, the GFCM Lex can engage diverse stakeholders to enhance comprehension of the effects of policy scenarios on fisheries and aquaculture. Indeed, in the past year or so, the GFCM Lex project has gathered a host of organizations, some of them present here today, with which we share fisheries legislation with the aim of promoting the conservation and management of living marine resources in our area of application and beyond. The harmonization and accessibility of legal frameworks provided by the GFCM Lex can contribute to the Iliad project by integrating the policy dimensions with scientific and MCS data, as we highlighted before. This means that by providing a harmonized legal framework, we can facilitate this alignment of policies, enhance the digital forecasting, as we said before, and promote data integration. Now, by way of demonstration, today we'd like to show you the GFCM Lex in its current state, and this is the landing page of the GFCM Lex. It contains background information on the organization and recalls major points and more important points about the platform. As you can see on the left, we have all the various country profiles. We also have a GFCM Lex glossary, which contains definitions of keywords, scientific and legal technical terms, and therefore allows us to foster understanding from users. Now, at the moment, we have elaborated drafts for 7 country profiles, and among them is Albania, which we'll delve into more in a second. Now, the aim here is to reach full coverage of all of our cooperating and contracting and cooperating non-contracting parties, but work in that front is currently ongoing. Our profiles are composed of 3 main sections, as reflected in GFCM decisions. So we have background information, which includes historical background, national maritime delimitations, and informations of this sort. Then we have fisheries and aquaculture, and these 2 other subsections are themselves divided into access regime for fisheries resources, conservation management measures, and MCS measures, whereas aquaculture looks into the zones allocated for aquaculture and administrative authorization and licenses. Now, each country profile begins with an information box containing general information on the fisheries and aquaculture sector in that country. As we looked at before, this is not necessarily legal information, but it provides data on the sector's capacity in the country. It also provides data on the fisheries and aquaculture sectors, such as, for example, import and export, the number of operating vessels, and so on. This content is also available in other relevant language. So, for example, here you can see that here the Albanian profile is available both in English and in Albanian. Turkish profile is likewise available in Turkish and English at the moment. We're also working to add French to all of our profiles, but that is, as we said, a work in progress. Now, our hope is that the Iliad project contribute to the GFCM Lex to any GFCM Lex profile like Albania's by enhancing the management and conservation of marine resources by offering comprehensive data on the state of marine ecosystems in national waters. And this data could also help refine existing legal frameworks for fisheries and aquaculture, ensuring that they are based on the latest scientific understanding of marine environments. Furthermore, by using the predictive analytics, the digital twins could aid Albanian policymakers, for example, in implementing effective conservation measures, such as determining safe fishing quotas and identifying critical habitats for protection. Finally, the integration of the project's real-time monitoring capabilities can improve the effectiveness of national MCS measures, aiding in the fight against IUU fishing. In practical terms, the Iliad project's contribution could be reflected in a country profile such as this one by displaying the project's comprehensive data on marine ecosystems, including tools that allow users to stimulate different policy scenarios, and integrating feeds that show real-time monitoring data through maps or graphs or what have you. Now, at the bottom of the main page or landing page of the GFCM Lex, there's a section dedicated to the ways that one can contribute to the GFCM Lex project. It also indicates where the available links can be found in this section, shown by here. And this is a way for users to submit new information to update the country profiles. Now, information can be submitted in English or in any of the other national languages. And sort of to wrap things up here in the context of GFCM Lex, digital twins could also help address several challenges and gaps, such as we said, continuous data integration, data fragmentation, accessibility, predictive analysis and policy planning, and real-time monitoring for compliance purposes. Now, with this, we conclude our presentation, and we're very happy to give the floor to the next contributor, and we look forward to participating in the roundtable discussion later on. Hopefully we stuck to the time limits in some form.
Yes, somewhat. Thank you, Edgar. Thank you. Please type your questions in the chat. In order to save time, we will address everything at the roundtable discussion. And to that, I would like now to continue to our next contributors. We are going to welcome from UNEP SPARAC, Ms. Lobna Ben-Nakla, Program Officer. She is a marine biologist with more than 20 years experience in marine biodiversity, and in charge of the coordination of the regional action plans for the conservation of marine endangered species developed with UNEP SPARAC. And she will share the presentation with Ms. Aida Abdel-Nadler, project assistant at UNEP SPARAC. She's also a marine biologist with a PhD in fisheries science. She has more than 17 years of combined national and international experience in marine biodiversity conservation and natural resource management. Before I share the floor with them, they will talk about post-2020 SAPBIO regional action plans to strengthen conservation of vulnerable species and ecosystems in the Mediterranean, in line with conservation and sustainable fisheries goals. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I will share my screen. Okay. So I'm going to...
Can you please put it in full screen mode? Thank you.
Excuse me?
Yes, thank you. We can see now. Thank you.
You can see it?
Yes, excellent.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to present the post-2020 SAPBIO, and my colleague Lobna will present the second part of the presentation, which will be on the regional action plans to strengthen conservation of vulnerable species and ecosystem in the Mediterranean, in line with conservation and sustainable fisheries goals. So the SPARAC, I am going to present you the SPARAC, which is one of the 6 MAP components, which mission is to help the 21 contracting parties to the Barcelona Convention to implement the specially protected area and biological diversity protocol. Now we go to the post-2020 SAPBIO, which is a strategic action program for the conservation of biodiversity and sustainable management of natural resources in the Mediterranean region. So the post-2020 SAPBIO is resulting from a bottom-up process during 2020 and 2021, involving stakeholders within the contracting party to the Barcelona Convention, key intergovernmental and non-governmental and other regional and international organizations. It was adopted by the Barcelona Convention at their COP22 in 2022. So the SAPBIO identifies needs, priorities, synergies for the conservation and sustainable use of marine resource, and it provides a logical framework for the conservation of the Mediterranean biodiversity. It is also aligned and harmonized with the main biodiversity frameworks such as the CBD and with the Sustainable Development Goals. The post-2020 SAPBIO and the GFCM 2030 strategy both was adopted in 2021. They are complementary strategic program as the SAPBIO and the strategy of fisheries and aquaculture shared a common vision, which is the sustainability and conservation through cooperation and partnership. As presented by Nicola, so the GFCM strategy is articulated around 5 targets, which are fisheries and ecosystem, compliance and enforcement, aquaculture, livelihood, capacity and capacity development. So the first shared target with the post-2020, between the post-2020 SAPBIO and the GFCM strategy is the target 1, healthy fisheries and ecosystems and productive fisheries. This target is based on 4 outputs that address the sustainability of fisheries from a broad perspective, integrating social, economic, and environmental principles. The concern for preserving marine biodiversity is also reflected in other actions related to target 1 of the strategy. So, for example, it is here we can continue talking about the target 1 and its outputs and actions, and we can see the intersections with objective and targets between the 2 strategies, including in particular target 1.6 and target 1.6, which like to reach by 2027 to develop the full inventory of ecosystem with the highest ecological relevance and regeneration potential, and by 2030 to complete the restoration of most of those selected. Output 1.3 of the GFCM strategy and the provision of the post-2020 SAPBIO relating to marine and coastal protected area and OECMs are in line with the interest in developing area-based management measures with a view to preserving vulnerable ecosystems and species. Such issues are among the priorities of the post-2020 SAPBIO through 2 of its 27 targets. We can cite target 2.4 and target 2.5. The second shared target between the two strategy is target 2, which is sustainable and resilient aquaculture sector. So this target specifically takes into account the expected contribution of the implementation of the GFCM 2030 strategy to ensure that best practices in aquaculture, such as innovation, improvement of aquatic health and biosecurity, supported by certification, traceability, and nature-based solution, be promoted in all Mediterranean countries, so that by 2030, the Mediterranean aquaculture industry is transformed in line with the ecosystem approach through science-based solutions and marine spatial planning tools. Shared target 3 is addressing NIS, pollution, and climate change. So NIS, invasion, marine pollution, and climate change are other examples of common concern addressed by the two strategies. It is expected that this action will be the subject of collaboration between the UNEP map and GFCM in their implementation at regional and national level. As a conclusion for this first part of the presentation, the examination of the orientation, targets, and action of both strategy show that there are many points of convergence between them, and that these two, they are both two key regional instruments. They show the will of the parties to the Barcelona Convention and the members of the GFCM to move further toward sustainable development, taking into account both the economic needs and the preservation of marine biodiversity. I'd like now to give the floor to my colleague Lubna, so she will carry on with the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ida, and thank you for the organization and organizer of this workshop to give us the opportunity to present the regional strategy and the regional action plan, which are a tool for the conservation of vulnerable species and also critical habitat. So I will share my screen. Hope it's okay. So here my presentation will focus mainly on another tools that are prepared and elaborated by the Barcelona Convention, mainly by the SPARAC, which is the marine biodiversity component of the Mediterranean Action Plan. So here we have also action plan, which are a strategic regional program, nothing binding, but really it provide contracting party with priority and activity to be undertaken at regional and national level, and with the objective to sustainable conservation of this species and this ecosystem. I think here, so we can see that we have until now prepared and adopted 5 action plans for the conservation of species, and it could be a group or species. So here we have already the monk seal action plan, a specific strategy for the conservation of this species, but also we have another action plan for marine turtle, cetacean, cartilaginous fish, and bird. So we assume that this is the most complete approach to conserve a group of species of one species, and it is presented or developed to work toward short, medium, and long-term objective. So This is the action plan for the species. And here we have three action plan for the conservation of habitat, and another regional action plan for the species introduction and invasive species. So these action plan are prepared after calling an expertise, an international expertise, and are presented to the contracting party who adopted this program, as I said, this strategic program, including a work plan for 5 years. And each 5 years, there is an assessment of this work plan in order to take into account the progress done already at the global and the regional and even national level. So the structure of this action plan are around these 6 sections, which are protection and management, scientific research and monitoring, public awareness and education, capacity building, national action plan, coordination. For each of these sections, the fisheries, interaction, activity are taken into account. Recommendation, action, and activity are proposed to be implemented by regional institution, national represented by contracting party, but even by any regional institution working in the region. So within the protection and management, we can the action plan invite contracting party to provide legal protection status for all the species already listed in the Annex 2 of the SAPBIO protocol. And this legislation and this legal protection have to be updated when necessary, when according to the review of the species status. So it is recommended that there are review of the species status in order to update or to reinforce this legislation. Of course, this legislation has to be done in conformity with the national, international law and convention on the subject. And even this action plan propose that measure of protection should be part of any fishery management to be developed at national and even local level. So, concerning the component about the scientific research and monitoring, here this regional action plan encourage all the contracting party to do intensive program for data collection about, of course, the species biology, the ecology, doing assessment of fisheries interaction, and taking into account also the economy and the sociological aspect. Of course, this will be done through field work, but also through interview with the main stakeholder. But there is an underline and from this action plan to really work with the fisher at local level in order to take into account the ecological knowledge of this community, because we assume that this knowledge is very important to improve the information about the species conservation status and threat, and this will allow to increase their marine conservation awareness. And as a good example to use and is the lesson learned from the Med bycatch and depredation project that has been implemented the last 6 years and has allowed the production of good tools on how to evaluate and to assess the interaction between the vulnerable species ecosystem and fishing activity. And of course, this also, through this project, there has been a proposal of mitigation measure about the modification of fishing gear, minimization of incidental catch, fishing regulation on how to tackle this fishing regulation, taking into account many details like depth, season, gear. So this is also is taken into account by this regional action plan. Concerning also the public awareness and education, this action plan also called for protection and conservation measure. And to be effective, we should tackle all level of public, and among this public is the professional fishermen and the stakeholder working with the fisher activity in each country. And so the action, the contracting party are invited to produce, with the support, of course, of regional institutions, so to produce and to promote sustainable fishing practices, to document any conservation effort and to disseminate it through awareness campaign. Also, capacity building take into account the reinforcement of the capacity of fisheries officer, of fishermen about the management and the conservation of species. And this has to be done taking into account any already existing initiative. And as I said, we invite this action plan invite the regional community to develop training program to focus method of fishery data collection, because when we will have this data, we can propose conservation measure and according to the data analysis and to the stock assessment. So the importance is to have this data collection, and the role of fishermen is crucial on this. This is why we recommend a training program focus and including the fishermen and the fisheries officer. Now, the last part of this action plan is about the coordination, which is have to be done by the SPARAC, since she is coordinating this action plan. But we assume and we propose that this should be done in cooperation and with the support of other regional organizations, including fishing, the regional organization working for fisheries like GFCM and ICAT, and conservation one like ACOBAMS, IUCN Med. And also here we also underline that non-governmental organization, association, and national environmental body should be also involved to achieve the objective of this action plan. So I think this is what I have to say, that this action plan is a tool already adopted by the contracting party. The contracting party are also called to adapt this action plan to produce their national action plan, which are an adaptation of what I just presented. And I think also that the twin digital project and initiative could help very well on the collection of the data, on their analysis, and even on the assessment of this regional action plan. And of course, I will let now the discussion to give more idea or more question if there is any question. Thank you.
Thank you, Lobna. Thank you, Aida. It was a very interesting presentation on regional action plans. Excited about the roundtable discussion to discuss how digital twins can contribute to that. I will now move to the last section of the workshop, where we will present our work in Iliad from Iliad colleagues and partners. We will share with you some examples of thematic digital twins. So I will first give the floor to the North Sea Fisheries thematic digital twin, which will be presented by Clyde Blanco, researcher at ILVO since 2021. His work focuses on analyzing fisheries data, connecting those data with environmental data from SIMEMS and EMODNet, and developing machine learning tools in order to predict catch in the North Sea fisheries pilot. So Clyde, please share your screen. The floor is yours.
Is it sharing now? Yeah.
Yes, Clyde, thank you.
All right. Hello, everyone. I'm Clyde from ILVO, and I'll give you a quick overview of what we are developing in the North Sea Fisheries pilot. So our digital twin of the ocean story started with a local project called VisTools, wherein several sensors are installed in the fishing vessel. So for example, GPS for the location of the vessel, the fuel consumption, and other parameters in the engine sensor. At the same time, the weight of the catch per species. At the same time, the towing force at the nets. And these the data coming from these sensors are sent into centralized hardware. We call it the concentrator, which it centralizes the data and creates timestamps for the data coming from the different sensors. And then that data is then sent to land through a server, where the vessel owners, for example, which are usually on land, can see this information. And with this one, it gives some information of catch per on a tow level. And with this system, we were able to install additional sensors, which we call hitchhiking sensors. So those are sensors that are installed in the nets that measures temperature, salinity, and turbidity with the depth profile. So when the net goes into the water, the sensor starts measuring data. And once it's back in the ship, it sends the data to the concentrator and then into the server. So VisTools in itself is a closed loop DTO, wherein it collects information from our 5 vessels and then enrich that with external data such as fish and fuel prices, and it goes back to the end users such as the vessel owners. And this gives them near real-time insights on the information on the activities of the vessel out on the sea. And then from there, we could also give the data or contribute the data to the marketplace. So for example, the depth profile of temperature, turbidity, salinity, at the same time, data gathered by the weather station to the marketplace. And this could be used, for example, as in situ data to calibrate ocean models. Because, for example, the Belgian fleet does not only fish in the North Sea, but they go to different areas such as the English Channel, the Bay of Biscay, and the Irish Sea. And then from there, the data coming from the engine sensor can be used for the fuel efficiency model. And this is in collaboration with Forth to create a model for a ship routing model. At the same time, we wanted to offer to the vessel owners a catch prediction model wherein it forecasts which areas in the future are suitable for fishing. And these are another model is EcoPath with EcoSim. So we are ILVO is also a partner in the EcoScope consortium, wherein the resulting model, which is a digital twin in itself, can be utilized in our pilot. And so these 2 models are enriched by other databases, for example, the data that we have here at ILVO, the IC's data survey data, and the environmental data coming from IMODNet and Marine Copernicus. And since we want this model to be in a operational phase, and so within the consortium, we are looking into operationalizing the models through Docker, which it can be run in anywhere. And then from there, it goes into a visualization, which will go back into our end users. So closing the bigger loop from visuals to the bigger picture of Iliad. And so from there, currently we have 5 fishing vessels, but with local funding, there will be an increase of 37 vessels participating in the Vistals project, and thus more data coming in for the models. And so currently, this is the user interface of the Vistals, wherein it shows the revenue deducted by the fuel consumption when the vessel was fishing, and deducted as well when the vessel was steaming towards an area. And that could be per trip or on a per day basis. At the same time, it can show heat maps of revenues. So this one is basically for the vessel owners. And so from there, we want to further enrich this user interface with additional modules, for example, a catch prediction module. And we are looking at predicting fishing suitability for sole and place, because these are the species important for the Belgian fleet. At the same time, we wanted to create a fuel efficiency model. So this is in collaboration from the model from Forth, wherein by putting starting an endpoint, it would suggest an optimal route towards the endpoint based on the weather forecasts and the most efficient in terms of fuel consumption. So that's all for our pilot.
Thank you, Clyde. Excellent presentation. And now I will invite to the floor our partner Terrasigna, represented by Ioan and Daniel Serban, to present the Black Sea Fisheries digital twin of Iliad. So Ioan works as a GIS and remote sensing scientist in Terrasigna since 2013, and his expertise is in remote sensing data processing and interpretation. Ioan, the floor is yours to present your digital twin.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the introduction. So I assume you now see my screen. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So,
but can you put it in full screen mode, please?
Okay. Okay, I think it works.
Yeah, thank you.
So, as you mentioned, my name is Ioan Serban. I work for Terrasigna. We are a Romanian-based company that offers geospatial analysis in several domains, such as agriculture, forestry, land deformation, and of course, water quality parameters monitoring. And today I'm going to present you the DTO with fisheries implemented in the northwestern part of Black Sea, covering Romanian coast, Bulgarian coast, and Ukrainian coast. So as a species of interest, we selected golden gray mullet, which is of course found in other regions of the world, but also very important from the economical point of view in the Black Sea. Here you have some few information regarding the vulnerability of the species. And for that, we compute a habitat suitability index for that species. And the data we use is mainly for CMEMS, sea surface temperature, salinity, primary productivity, bathymetry, and marine fronts. Marine fronts are generated for temperature product based on an in-house developed methodology. So all the input data sets are translated to are translated to suitability index for each particular variable based on absolute and preferred conditions. You have here on the right side few examples for temperature, examples for depth, temperature, and salinity. And for each parameters, we selected the most optimal, which value is 1, and the less optimal condition. So each SI indices has a value from 0 to 1, 1 meaning perfect, 0 meaning not okay. And final step consists of merging all these SI indices for each environmental envelope into a habitat suitability index, which is further adjusted based on the presence and absence of marine fronts. As you probably know, marine fronts are one of the areas that are preferred for fishes to feed. So as a result, we have daily habitat suitability index covering years 2018, 19, and 20. Just a quick observation about this habitat suitability index. You don't have to look at it like it's a fish where it's present or absence. It's more a probabilistic approach based on that environmental envelopes. Probabilistic approach that shows the presence, the possible presence of fish in areas with high value of HSI. So this is the architecture of our twin. It basically works as a downstream service of Copernicus products. It integrates other products, of course, and it offers user access to all the data through a friendly web interface. This is the Archimate Iliad architecture. I will not go further into that details. The main idea is our DTO is operational. You can access it at this link. All the data sets are available there, and results can also be accessed or incorporated in other solutions using OGC standards like WMS, WMTS, and so on. And future plans, we want to integrate also statistics and reports in the Geo portal, make some updates on the data, and of course the result will be further integrated into Iliad Digital Ocean Twin. So that's all for me. If you have further questions, I'm looking forward to answer them.
Thank you, Ioan, for the very nice presentation of the Black Sea Fisheries digital twin of Iliad. I'm sure that anyone who has questions will type in the chat to discuss a bit later. Our last presentation of Iliad digital twins from Iliad partners is from Bente, who will present multi-layered digital twins, the use cases of Morocco and Norway. Bente is our innovation manager in Iliad and a member of the coordination team. She has been a member of the Geo community since 2004. She has served on the Geo program board representing Norway. Today, Bente runs a research and consultancy company, BFB, focusing on transforming Earth observation data to information and knowledge. She supports Next.geo's data hub and platform operations. She is also a member of the Geodata working group, co-chairing Next.geo's community activity. And she's characterized herself as a nature-loving gadget geek. So, Bente, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Katerina. I'm happy to be here. Let me share my screen. I got 5 minutes, right?
Yes.
Yes.
To give us more time for the discussion, which
Yeah, I know.
hope it will be vibrant and exciting.
Yes. This is a warning then, this will go very fast. I want to show you how we can reuse thematic twins both across the thematic areas and also across regions. So this is the story I want to tell. I will start by reminding us all what a digital twin is, a little bit about the Iliad system and our twins, and also then focus on the different layers, and you will understand what I mean by that. So a digital twin is a digital representation of reality. And we want to be able to have what-if scenarios. You are familiar with this definition, but it's not only what-if scenarios that is useful for us, interactions with the digital system. It's also having updated best information maps, so intelligent maps that gives you the best overview of a situation. So, and overall, these twins needs to be interoperable. They are data intensive, and in order to make a business out of it, of course, it needs to be cost effective. So as Garabet was showing you Iliad in the seashell, I would like to underline again that we are building interoperable digital twins. That's why we can reuse components. We are connecting existing ocean data infrastructures and resources, and we are adding additional components. And the marketplace is enabling us to share these different, well, twins, and also the components of the twins. So I just wanted to remind you of that. So here are some of the thematic areas of our digital twins that we are developing in Iliad. So we have renewable energy as a topic. We have coastal sediment transport. We have fisheries, obviously, different types of perspective of fisheries. We have aquaculture. We have the insurance perspective. We have jellyfish, so and harbor. I mean, we have different types of thematic areas. Now, what I will show you is that we are able to addressing the same type of issues through different perspectives coming from these thematic twins. So here, what I will tell a story about now is the insurance or risk monitoring pilot twin, and with the aquaculture and water quality twins. I have also highlighted oil spill. I could also highlight plastic pollution and coastal sediment transport, because it will be the example I will show how you can use modeling to model the drift of these different types of items in the ocean. So a quick word about Norway. Norway, I mean, I grew up hearing about the annual catch of cod since I was a little girl. And then later, aquaculture became very big in Norway. And I'm used to hearing, even before I was interested in this topic, you couldn't help learning something about the industry and also conflicts of interest between fisheries, and aquaculture, so different businesses, and also nature protection. So these are topics that are very high on the attention in Norway. These pictures here is an example where you show, you see where I've written Saltstrand in Norway. The mountain you see there is actually a nature reserve. You see the aqua farm, and this is also, this is summer and winter, by the way, and it's also a very popular place to fish. So in this very spot, you have all this conflicting or interests that you need to take care of at the same time. So the twin in Norway for insurance, or we call it aqua risk, because we focus on algae bloom as a risk, because that's the biggest risk and very costly. And we had some incidents in Norway, some big incidents. So this is very important for the insurance companies, but equally important for the enterprises themselves. And you see here a list of the different perspectives. So there is not only natural hazards and man-made hazards, but economic risk as well, and a risk to the both to the catchment and also to the farm itself. So those are the perspectives on this risk management. And here you see an example of all the different types of data that goes into this intelligence tool. I will call this the Aqua risk management portal, and we have intelligence map, and important for, in this case, for the insurance and also for the managers of the aqua farm, is to have the latest information and the best information they can. Of course, they want to run what if scenarios, so simulate, for instance, the potential climate change effects, etc., and also simulate the ocean currents in case you have an aqua bloom, stuff like that. So, and they need reports for the insurance. Here, for the policy perspective, you see there are conflicts of interest between different policies. Now, the fisheries and the aquaculture, they are regulated and are have to abide different policies. But so is the nature reserves, biodiversity, climate, etc. All of this comes into the same picture. And this is, and diseases is also a very important issue, by the way. And I go fast. Then we go fast forward to Morocco. Very different from, you see from the pictures, very different environment, but the same kind of issues. So here you see the fisheries at Al Hoceima marine protected areas. You see a fish farm. This is not salmon. So in Norway, the aqua farm is typically about salmon. What you see here is a mussels farm, and in the background you see, well, actually this is in the marine protected area. So after 20 years or so of working, they have succeeded in making this coexistence successful. So this was the framework around using some of the components of the pilots or the twins that we are building in Norway, to apply it to the marine protected area and the situation in Morocco by reusing twin components then across different domains and transformed to different locations. And it was a part of a hackathon in the Iliad Summer School, balancing aquaculture and marine protected area for food security. So they have a growing business or industry on aqua farms. Disease is a key component. So what they did was to try to have they develop a way of monitoring the transmission of disease between farms, from farms to farms, and also to marine protected areas. And so the tools that they did, so this is a simulation, and you see here, I could have shown the similar pictures from Norway. I chose this one, and thanks to the very capable group of SINTEF and the locals in Morocco, you see here how you can simulate the transmission of various disease and parasites. So you can sort of look where they spread. This is the team, very capable team. And I have to show you also a little bit of the technology here. You see the Iliad architecture, the logical architecture. On the left-hand side, you see the data, the sensors. We prepare, then the next step is to prepare it, make it interoperable, harmonize it. And we have to have it infrastructure have it in both data spaces and data lakes. You have the models, you process, do the analytics, and then you present it to the end users. And here you see a simplified, so this is the simplified architecture for those Norwegian and Moroccan, well, actually this is concretely the Moroccan. You see the geolocation data from the National Aquaculture Development Agency, and you have the EMODNet, you already saw EMODNet, and of course Copernicus. And the common component here, and you see it on the top of the architecture, Iliad overall architecture, is the open drift simulation. It can be used for many, it could be used for parasites, it could be used for oil spill, for sediments, etc., etc. So this is, and then you use this tool, adapted to your specific case, and then you have a user face fitting your specific use. And this is where policy, this tool, I will say, enables policymakers to both monitor what is going on, but also to have a background for to have a holistic view when you are developing new policies. So where can you find it? Well, on the Iliad marketplace, you have heard about that, where you can find both the pilots, the individual twins themselves, but also the components as I showed you. Here you see the locations of all the pilots, twins that we have in Iliad now, covering not only Europe, but also Africa and the Middle East. And we are a member of DITO. So our ambition is to be able to share these different components of twins for different purposes. Thank you very much.